loosened it up. I'm going to take the main housing off here. Don't worry, it's under heavy spring tension right now. And we'll take the adjuster screw out too a little bit, so it'll be easier to get back in. And it's that easy. Okay. Yeah, I want to say 3/8 drive, hex wrench. Go ahead and just undo that. I could have done that earlier and just pull the spring out, but 3. Okay, and one of the problems you run into with these is, of course, a lot of verdigris and corrosion. Now, I let mine sit in half apple cider vinegar and half water solution for a couple hours, and worked out. This one was a real pain in the butt. It had been probably set up for about 30 years, but it's in great shape, good materials. And we're going to go ahead and remove the newly made thank you Brian from Vintage Double Hose, newly made diaphragm here. And as you see, it's fairly easy to replicate. Okay, look at that. You got nice pinging there, nice ping hole. Okay, and that's the pusher plate. And it has a front face with a screw running through it and a washer in back. And of course, it's all nicely lubed. And we're going to just take this right off here. Inside, there is a small pusher pin. A small pusher pin. But that's not working, so we'll go ahead and just move her out. And what I've done, okay, like all brass, now granted this is steel, but it's rounded, and I'm going to work very gently, work the O-ringed center piece that is actually your seat. It's actually pretty good. It's double-sided, and we're going to move her on out. And you just take your time working it. There we go. She finally slipped. Okay, coming out the back. Right there you go. You see her. Okay, come on, sweetie. Don't be a pain. Come on. Here we go. There's my pin. Here's my push rod. That's what they in the industry it's called. Let me get it up here. Little tiny push rod. Here's your push rod. And that push rod actuates right through there. That little hole, so don't lose your push rod. And let's go ahead and get our actual seat out, if we can. Come on, baby. Rotate it around there. And I don't want to come out. Don't blame it. It just got refurbed. But I'm doing this for historical reasons. Hang on for a second. I'll be back and I'll get her out. Alright, finally got her out. I put a Vuitton O-ring around it. But it's just a little, that's your actual seat. It's a little flexible seat that goes on the inside there, and of course this pressurizes in through there, and basically it just keeps that actuator pin, that push rod, nicely centered. You got a little bit of free play in there, but not very much. I'm not quite sure why Sam LeCoq designed it that way, but that's about it. Okay, so you're clear all the way through there. You can see nice, clean. Okay, it's all been nice and swept out and cleaned up. Beautiful machining on it. Absolutely gorgeous machining. Wonderful chrome job. And now we're going to go ahead and go into the high pressure, overpressure relief valve. Okay, using a 9/16. That sucker's in there. Whoa! All right, so a little bit of action here. A little bit of action. All right, 9/16. You guys better appreciate this because I just rebuilt this thing. Now I'm tearing it apart so you can learn the mysteries of it. Okay, so 9/16. And while I'm doing that, let's go take our, 330 seconds, and we'll just rotate it off there. How's that? Because it's under a little bit of pressure. It does have a little seating valve in it, like most of them. And you're going to sit there and see it. Well, I'm not going to tear it apart. Inside, there is a tiny little valve, actuator valve with a pressure seat. And I didn't take the measurements. Go ahead and sue me. It was seating well. What I did is I just turned it around and lubed it up with some silicone and turned it around and dropped her back in there, and she seals up just fine after adjustment. Same thing there. You want to go ahead and get nice clean insides there. Of course, I'm not going to take the top off and all that. Let's flip her over real quick, and we'll get to the second stage. But of course, good cleaning all the way around. If you've got a ultrasonic cleaner, definitely would be a nice thing to have. But I'm here in Saudi Arabia, and we don't necessarily have that. Okay, going into the second stage, let me go ahead and work her off. I'm going to rotate. Be very careful. Word of warning. Remember, it's a tilt rod C upstream, and so you don't want to, when you're taking off, you don't want to snap it with your wrench. Just take your time getting it off, guys. Take your time getting it off, and be back in a sec. All right. I've got it out of its clock position now, and it rotates fairly freely. There is a metal washer that helps you stop from overseating it. In ways, it's sort of like the second stage of a U.S. Diver's DA Aquamaster. You don't want to clock it all the way down, but in this case, that's what this washer for. There we go. Okay. If you look inside, there is a nice little pressure port coming out, which incidentally I deep down think probably could be used as a high pressure orifice of some kind, or basically all they did, I think, on the other versions, the two other versions of the water lung, was they just went ahead and did it more of a standard downstream valve and literally made it rest right on that. But they couldn't do that back when this was happening because patent law. Okay, there's a nice rubber gasket down in there. I'm not going to tear it apart. It's relatively easy to manufacture one. It's approximately a 1/4 inch gap in the center there, about a 1/4 inch in diameter, and about another 1/4 inch out in and around gasket material. But when you get your own, you can go ahead and play with it all you want. I'm not pulling that gasket out because it's all perfect now, and it seals up nice. Okay, yes, you have a little push spring right here, and this sucker goes right on top of the infamous tilt rod second stage upstream valve. You do have a seat or a pressure orifice here in there. Make sure it's all nice and clean. Believe it or not, that is nice and clean. It's just old. Chrome's coming off probably from air pressure. But there's, as usual, don't use a pencil or anything. I very lightly go over it with a Q-tip and some Chrysolube, and just clean it up that way. You can drop it in a solution of vinegar, a solution, or an ultrasonic cleaner, but please do not use anything heavy on that seat because you'll mess it up. It's a very simple orifice coming out. Very simple. Let me get it. God dang, I hate this side mount stuff. A very simple orifice coming out, and a very simple tilt rod slot for it. It's about as simple as it gets. If anybody's ever worked in a steam plant or a heating plant in any kind of industrial capacity, this is not much different than what they were using as little let-offs on steam plants. Okay, the infamous tilt rod second stage upstream, okay, second stage, it clamps down inside, and you roll that rolling on the side of the copper allows it to roll up. And yes, there is, some kind of nitrile rubber seat there. Now, I've thought about this. You could probably use, yes again, some kind of hardened butyl rubber silicone or butyl rubber gasket material, something that has to take a lot of motion on it. So yeah, you could probably, if you have one that's decayed, you could probably go ahead. You can see where it's rolled up and rocked around and all that. Yes, they do take a set to. Don't be bending this around too much. The only time you're going to bend it around is just to adjust a little bit. And you grab your line here, hold it firmly, and you bend up and down, if you can, across the entire length, okay? And not try to move areas around because you don't want metal fatigue. I'm trying to figure out a way to where I can replicate something like that using a swage machine, because you actually do have quite a bit of room, swag room in there, and you'll see here in a second. Let me put her back in. Oh, one word of warning: when you're putting these things back together, okay, and you'll see what I'm doing in a second here, you're going to rotate the main body up, okay, and over like that, and hand rotate the second stage into the bottom with the spring aligned up. If you don't, that spring might not line up around the pressure orifice in here, and it won't hold up the second stage seat, and then you'll be just blowing air all over the place. So let me get this back together here. All right, heading on in. Okay, we're going to put her back together, and you'll see I'm taking my second stage upstream seat and just gently putting it back in there, and you'll see you got a lot of wiggle room inside there. So you could actually go with a little bit larger diameter seat, but not too much, maybe a millimeter more. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put the spring, the return spring on. And see, I miss it all the time. Okay, make sure it's lined up and right on there, okay? Gotta get your spacing washer back on the second stage there. Okay, now coming back around, rotating up, and just gently rotate it with your fingers until it grabs. And nice and easy. Rotate it around towards relatively hard to turn. You want that gently to turn, and just let that second stage tilt rod valve start getting some spring tension on it. It does not have a bunch of spring tension, okay? Okay, but once it starts going down in there, okay, there we go. Keep on going. It's going to start seizing up on that gasket, on that large washer, rubber washer down the bottom, and I want to go ahead and set it right now. And don't get afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. A nice big wrench. I'd like something big where I can control it. And make sure you get that nice in there. Remember, this is Saudi Arabia. Do not mess with your second stage. You're going to clock it in, nice, big, and heavy. And we're there. So there. Okay. And might actually want to clock it a little. No, it looks about right. Okay. And what I do is here I use this line here, this reinforcement ridge. But it looks like she's clocked in nicely there. Okay, rotating around. We're going to go back in. We're going to put our new Vuitton O-ring pressure seat back inside. We're pain about to get out. Just go ahead. You can tap it in with a pencil. Tap it in.